President Akufo-Addo has laid the foundation stone for the construction of a new French embassy here in Accra. The edifice, when completed, will house the French embassy located at Kanda in Accra. It is expected to be completed in 18 months.
The embassy, which will be situated in the precinct of the resident of the French ambassador at Cantonment in Accra, is designed by French registered architect Gov't and would be constructed by Micheletti Construction. The edifice, which will be constructed via the bioclimatic method, is expected to provide aesthetic, acoustic ease and comfort. The French ambassador to Ghana, Francois Pujolas, was excited about the project.
This is a very symbol of the growing importance of this partnership between France and Ghana, and laying foundation of the new building of the Embassy of France here in this country is also a symbol of the confidence France has in the future of these relations. This ceremony takes place in a very special year for Ghana, which, as you all know, celebrates its 60th anniversary, but also special for our bilateral relationship. We also do celebrate 60 years of diplomatic relations.
President Akufo-Addo, who laid the foundation stone, was confident the construction of the new embassy will further deepen relations between the two countries.
I'm confident that the edifice of the new Chancellery building would be the foundation stone and continuation of the growing interest of France in Ghana's development and progress. Our country continues to benefit from French support in sectors such as health, rural water supply, agriculture, construction, telecommunication, and industry, for which we are grateful.
The 18-month project, when completed, will see the French embassy move from its current location at Kanda to Cantonment, all in Accra.
Parliament is considering or has considered the earmarked funds capping and realignment bill 2017. The bill, when passed, will cap earmarked funds at 25% of total tax revenue so as to provide for the realignment of tax revenue that is freed up as a result of the capping for use as budget support.
Taking the motion on the floor of Parliament, the Finance Minister indicated the current laws that regulate government spending create rigidity and credibility problems for budget implementation. This means that the ability of government to shift public spending from one expenditure line to another is hindered. Consequently, it has become difficult to use public spending as an instrument to respond adequately to changing public needs. The bill therefore seeks to cap earmarked funds as a percentage of total tax revenue by placing an obligation on the Minister for Finance to ensure that earmarked funds for each year is 25% of tax revenue. It also provides for the realignment of the tax revenue that is freed up as a result of the capping for use as general budget support. The chairman of the Finance Committee, Dr. Mark Asiedu-Dartey, in his report said the act will free up public resources.
The committee was assured that the requirements of the 1992 Constitution regarding the minimum 5% national revenue for DACF would be religiously obeyed under this new capping arrangement. Additionally, the DACF would also be eligible for a top-up in any financial year depending on government priorities for the year.
But the minority had concerns with this position.
Single entity, almost every single government MDA is going to lose on IGF. Mr. Speaker, in as much as I believe that the time has come for us to look at it critically on some of the IGFs, it's also important for us to caution that a blanket cap of all IGFs can be dangerous for the economy.
Even if this should be done, we should call on the Minister of Finance to go and do a serious review of the bill so that during the consideration stage, lots of amendments can be made to relieve these cash-strapped institutions from their IGFs being capped.
The majority insisted the act will inure to the benefit of Ghanaians.
When we do some of these things like taking some IGFs that hitherto some institutions were just mismanaging. We believe we will bring some discipline into managing public funds when we centralize some of them for somebody sitting somewhere who has that in-depth knowledge to do the management for us.
Meanwhile, a sum of 871,222,971 Ghana cedis has been approved for the Ministry of Roads and Highways for the 2017 financial year. Also, 269,135,747 cedis has also been approved for Ministry of Trade and Industry for the 2017 fiscal year.
We'll stay on this issue because my guest will very soon be talking about it. But let's take this from the Center for Local Governance Advocacy. Now, it is cautioning government not to cap the statutory payments. According to the group, any such decision by government is a breach of Article 252, which stipulates that, subject to provisions of this constitution, Parliament shall annually make provisions for allocation of not less than 5% of total revenues of Ghana to the District Assemblies for development, and the amount shall be paid into District Assembly Common Fund in quarterly installments. So that is the issue on the floor. Parliament couldn't pass the bill, and certainly they'll come back next week to take another look at it. My guest to my extreme left is Adam. We see he's from the Center for Local Advocacy, Local Governance Advocacy. Adam, grateful for your time this evening. Thanks so much for joining. And then Honorable Alhassan Umar is a member of Parliament for Zabzugu constituency of the NDC. Grateful for your time too. We'll be joined on the phone lines by Honorable Kuku Kwati, MP for Boase West. Let's start with you, Honorable Alhassan Umar. Now, so the NDC's concerns that you want some interpretation to certain laws. Tell me about it. Let's begin with that.
Exactly. If you look at the Constitution, the Article 252,
right.
Section 2 stipulates that it cannot be less than 5%.
Right.
Total revenue tax. Total revenue. Excuse me, total revenue of Ghana government, total revenue, it should not be less than 5%.
Right. There's a total revenue without tax.
Without tax.
Right.
Now, what the government of the day is saying, they want to use the new article, Local Government Article 936, to say that they want to use it to interpret the constitutional to make an amendment to the Constitution, which is 5% of, they're interpreting it to mean revenue, total revenue tax. And we're saying, no, it is not total revenue tax. It is total revenue.
So the new local government, if it is used by the government as a suggestion, will cap these funds. That's it.
No, we already the fund. We are against capping the fund. As of 2015 and 2016, the statutory funds, all the statutory funds were already capped at 35%. And you can see how much the distressed government and department agencies already, those funds suffered.
Even at 35%?
Even at 36% or 35%. 36%. Look at Gov't Fund. They couldn't provide all the institutions. We still have schools under trees. NHI, not everyone is covered. And even as we speak, there are a lot of healthcare providers who never receive their money, and they are complaining. And so if we don't want NHI to just be on paper, to just have a paper value that nobody wants, the providers don't want to accept NHI, then we are suggesting to government to look for other sources than just to cap it.
I see.
Look at the, and then further to that, the District Assembly Common Fund. This fund is for development of the local assemblies. And so if you go to cap it again at 25%, as an MP who comes from a rural area, you can imagine this.
So you're
we are
looking
against
at the development challenges that might come up. Let me speak to Adam from the Center for Local Governance Advocacy. Adam, so for you, you're looking at the amount of funds that goes to these assemblies, and perhaps it's inadequate, and so you're cautioning government to stay away from thinking about capping it.
Sure. Our interest lies in the funds that go to the district assemblies. We already know our assemblies are cash-strapped. Right. They have plans. You go to every assembly, they have their medium-term development plan. They pull out annual action plans from them. The monies to implement those actions becomes a challenge. You know, the IGF generation is low. Right. So they rely mostly on the common fund. Our interest does not lie in whatever other fund government wants to cap. We are into local governance. We believe that for Ghana to truly develop, we must pay attention to the practice of decentralization and local governance. So if government by this act, as we are seeing now, is inhibiting the funds, the quantum of funds that should go to the assemblies, that's where our concern comes in. And we were looking at the allocation that have been made to the common fund. Right. And Honorable made a point about 5%. But when you look at the Local Governance Act, the Act 936, Section 126, subsection 2, it defines what the DACF's total revenue, because the subsection 1 talks about the fact that Parliament will make an allocation of not less than 5%. Right. Then the 2 comes to tell you that the 5% should be tax revenue. Right. So when it comes to the Local Governance Act that we are using now, the one that was passed in 2016, we, per what the law is saying, we are okay with the definition that the Act gave. Right. But even when we check the allocation against the tax revenue, it was not up to 5%. It was around 4.58. And that is where
that's where your concerns are. Yeah. I'll come back to you, but let me also try and speak to the Member of Parliament for Boase West, Kweku Kwarteng. He's just joined me on the phone lines, Deputy Minister nominee for Finance. Honorable Kweku Kwarteng, grateful for your time tonight. All right, we'll rework the phone lines and get Honorable Kweku Kwarteng on the phone lines. He's a Member of Parliament for Boase West constituency. And Honorable Kwarteng, if you can hear me now, thank so much for joining us. Okay, all right. All right, let me come back to this. We'll rework the phone lines and get back to you. Honorable Asiedu-Dartey, so for the NDC, the interpretation will bring matters to a close.
Exactly.
Now, if indeed this is the situation, from what you just told us, the challenge about the quantum of money that goes to these assemblies, what about government's argument that some of these monies do not go to the right channel, so it needs to find a way to handle it?
Well, they haven't proved their point. We believe that all the monies go to assemblies. As far as, and that is why the assemblies,
give me a minute, let me try and see if the phone lines are better now. Mr. Kwarteng, can you hear me now? All right, please go ahead. We've lost him there on the phone line. If
you look at the Assembly Common Fund, they are divided into two portions. Part goes to the MP and part goes to Assembly. And so we don't see any reason that some monies get lost in the way.
And so your insistence is that at least what the Constitution says should be given to these assemblies must go to them.
Must go to them.
Adam, government is promising that. I mean, these are not the only funds going to these local assemblies. For instance, the $1 million for each constituency that is expected to go to these 3 authorities are expected to be part of what assemblies can access for their development projects. But before you answer that, let me try for the last time, Mr. Kweku Kwarteng, if he can hear me. Good evening, Mr. Kwarteng.
Good evening.
I'm grateful you can hear me now. So, and the concern, the key one is that government, by this capping thing, is breaching certain portions of our constitution. How do you react to this?
Well, to start with, government is not breaching any part of the constitution. The constitution says that at least 5% of total revenue will go to the District Assembly Common Fund. The constitution does not define total revenue. But fortunately, the District Assembly's Common Fund, which is an act to give operation to this provision of the constitution, defines it. And with your permission, I would like to read a brief. Total revenue means, and I'm referring to section 17, that is under interpretation of the District Assembly's Common Fund Act. Total revenue means all revenue collected by or accruing to the central government other than foreign loans, grants, non-tax revenue, and revenues already collected by or for district assemblies under any enactment in force. So what the law is saying is that total revenue, of which 5% must go into the District Assembly Common Fund, is the total government revenue minus foreign loans. Total government inflows minus foreign loans, grants, non-tax revenue. So, and then revenues already collected by or for district assemblies under any enactment in force. And here they are talking about the internally generated funds of the district assemblies. So the law is clear on this. This is how it has been done over the period that both the constitution and this law have applied. Nothing different has happened, and it is because we're relying on this. It is true. I heard some of your panelists refer to the Local Governance Act. Yes, the definition there also borrowed from this.
Okay.
So what we ought to understand that there is a District Assembly's Common Fund Act that tells us what total revenue we are referring to when we talk about 5% going into the District Assembly Common Fund. So let's raise that matter and let's stop suggesting misleadingly that somehow the law has been broken.
I see.
But the second point, and now the policy rationale of this capping.
Right.
Look, if you look at government expenditures, you take wages and salaries. I'll be brief on this. You take wages and salaries, and then you take amortization, that is loan repayment and interest payment, that's servicing.
Right.
So you take salaries and wages one line, amortization and interest payments another line, and then you take statutory funds, which are transfers you are required to make by law. You take these three things, government revenue is finished. Government revenue completely finished. So any other thing that government wants to do, government must go and borrow. And that is why our debt it has been escalating. We cannot continue like that. In 2016, about 11 billion of money that should have gone into the provision of social services went into interest payment. In 2017, it is 14 billion. As a country, we can't go on like that.
I see.
And in both the 2010, 2011, 2012, 2015, 2016 budget statement, the NDC administration decried this and said that there was a need for realignment. The only thing that I think now is that we want to stop the lamenting that we have seen in previous years and to act. And that is why this action has happened and this bill has been placed before Parliament. All government is seeking to do, I'm concluding on this, all government is seeking to do is to say that these statutory funds will still get their transfers. But it must be so capped that so that money will be freed for priority policies to get resources. That is all we have done. I think it's a good initiative. I invite my colleagues to support this.
Okay, I'm grateful. Honorable Kwaku Kwarteng is the Member of Parliament for Obuasi West constituency. Adam, now, so the explanation is given. How do you react to it? He says, look, we want to create space for government to be able to find money to to spend.
I will agree with Honorable's assertion of creating space, but I believe that the level of governance that deserves much resource is the local government, because they are with the people, they identify the needs, they know they can actually provide a need-based development that meets the actual needs of the people that we all want to seek. I believe that.
So even if you want to cut or create space, don't create a space from there. That's what you're saying.
Don't create it from there. And before Honorable came, you were talking about the 1 million and the fact that it was going.
Assemblies can access these.
What are the modalities for the assemblies to access these funds?
We don't know.
From the budget, what we are seeing is that that is another question that Honorable you can ask. But from the budget, what we have seen going to the assemblies is what you are really raising the alarm about.
Let me go, Honorable Alassane Umar, to also come in. So the explanation offered by Mr. Gov't, perhaps he said there's no breach of the law except that he thinks that it's a good idea, and so you people should.
Well, there are two things I can conclude on this. One, I'm not a lawyer, and when the law becomes an interpretation issue, we go to the Supreme Court.
Right.
They are the masters, and they are they can interpret the framers, what the framers meant, or what the mind of the framers. And so, yes, we are not relenting. We want that to be, the truth to be established, or the law to be established. The constitutional provision and that of the Act, a Local Government Act 936, which one is paramount?
Okay. I'm grateful. Honorable Alassane Umar is Member of Parliament for the Zabzu constituency. That we see is from the Center for Local Governance Advocacy. Gentlemen, grateful for your time tonight.
Before we
quickly, I'm running out of time.
Yeah, before we go, we will always advocate that the local governments were created for a purpose, and with time they are supposed to be strengthened. So creating of structures that will seem to run parallel and compete.
That's also a challenge for you people.
Compete with the assemblies for resources is becoming an issue. We want these assemblies to grow and become war-strengthening institutions that can take over the governance space and provide the development that the country needs.
Adam, I'm grateful.